John Cena wins against Alberto Del Rio. Are you surprised? I don't think so, but what the hell? I'm happy because I don't want to see Del Rio as the champion anymore, so John Cena as the champion, even if a lot of people are sick and tired of that, I'm all for it. And overall, I thought this match was boring. I didn't like it for any real reason whatsoever. It was exactly the type of thing that you would expect to see. Cena picks Del Rio up for an attitude adjustment a bunch of times, and Del Rio falls backward. They do the whole 9 count, and then somebody gets back into the ring. It's the same old stuff. Del Rio and Cena are both two of the people that have the most repetitive matches possible. I think RVD and Rey Mysterio might make up 4 out of the 5 people that you could throw into that list. So anytime you put Cena and Del Rio against each other, I'm going to tune out. And it's no surprise at all that I tuned out during this one. So I really have nothing to say about it other than meh, saw it happen. And I would have probably been happier if they would have given more time to any of the other matches instead of this.
Did you say tuna?
Yeah, dude, Ryback's like going nuts somewhere. He just got to chill. What do you think about this, Oberhand? Cena and Del Rio? Not the
again, another one I predicted rather correctly.
Oh, big bold choice you had there.
Right.
Really going out on a limb.
I think I'm going to do something different here and vote that John Cena wins a match. Like, no, please don't. Don't take that risk.
In terms of like Del Rio versus Cena, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I was falling asleep watching this piece of tripe. I'm so glad the feud's over and Cena's like, oh no, we just got Randy Orton next. Anything's better than Del Rio. Fire the guy already. Terrible.
Shame that he couldn't have been a career mid-carder.
You know what? He would be an amazing career race car driver. As long as he just stays away from professional wrestling.
What, race car driver? What, just because he comes out to the ring with the... Well, he doesn't anymore, but... Just because of that?
Yeah, he should just be driving around in cars.
He needs to drive the one
That's the whole great thing about Del Rio. He drives a car, people pop, and then he goes in the ring, and then people boo.
What do you think about Cena and Del Rio, Peyton?
I actually thought it was better than I would have expected. I'm not as down as you guys. I'm not really going to go out there and say I'm ever going to look forward to a Cena Del Rio match, which I think helped it a little bit. I had very low expectations, so by the time it happened, I was like, oh, that wasn't so bad. It also helps that I was watching the pay-per-view with company, so I wasn't 100% focused on it. I thought out of all the matches those guys have had, it's probably the best one they've ever had. I thought there was at least some tension going on in it. Yeah, you knew John Cena was going to win, but with his hurt arm and they really played up a lot through that match, as they should have. I mean, it's almost writes itself when you have a guy who just got back from surgery on his arm and you have a guy whose finisher is the arm breaker. The story shouldn't be hard to put together. The predictable ending happened. I'm glad to see Del Rio is finally not involved. I mean, if you look back on this year, I'm pretty sure Del Rio has been involved in every single world heavyweight title match this year. And correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if Dolph Ziggler faced somebody else that short period he had it, but unless he did, Del Rio has been involved in every single world heavyweight title match this year. And luckily that's going to end at TLC unless he decides to get himself inserted somehow with our lucky will. But it's nice to see it move on, and I think that's just the shining example of why we don't need 2 titles, because a guy like Del Rio should not be holding that title for an entire year.
He actually, on top of being in every world title match, he was the replacement. Remember when they couldn't have Dolph Ziggler wrestle for the title? So instead we had another number 1 contender match between Del Rio and Jack Swagger.
Oh, yeah.
So Del Rio not only was in every single one of those, but he was also in the replacement one, taking up that spot.
Do you think there's someone in creative that is literally getting a hard on every time Del Rio goes in the ring?
Well, here's the thing. Del Rio was a huge star in Mexico, and he is a talented guy. I don't want to completely hate on him, but, I'm just tired of him. I'm tired of seeing him all the time. I'm tired of seeing him being the guy on top. He hasn't evolved his character at all in the time he's there, except he's maybe dialed back on a few things. And that's fine. You could dial back on some elements, but then you've got to become higher up on new ones, which he hasn't done. He's just dialed himself back and then just stayed where he is. He cut Ricardo, which was one of his best parts. He doesn't have the pyro. He doesn't have the cars. His new music sucks. His moves have not changed. He hasn't gotten a new finisher the entire time he's been there. He still just does the winks. He at least he doesn't do the I'm Alberto Del Rio, but you already knew that anymore. At least he cut that.
Yeah, but now all he replaced it with is carrying around a flag.
Yeah, this is true.
Oh, and telling everyone how he's the Mexican hero.
Mm-hmm. So awful. I'm sick and tired of him. If there's one person in WWE that I would love to see take time off, even though I think I agree with your point that that Ryback needs to take that time off just to get a refresher, I think Del Rio really needs to take that time off just to give us a break.
You know what would be hilarious if they partnered him with Zeb?
They just like fly in the face of what happened at WrestleMania. They're like, yeah, you know what, retcon, who cares?
Yeah, it's like...
No, I think they could be like a odd couple. Like they're still arguing overtime over things. Like they could have vignettes of them on the road, and it's like, where do you want to stop? And Zeb could be like, I want to stop at Burger King, and W could be like, I want to stop at Taco Bell. And they can argue back and forth. It'd be great.
What if it turns out that like, because they're doing the whole thing with Antonio Cesaro that he's like a real American even though he's not from America. What if they start doing like Del Rio is a real American and he's against everybody coming to America except for the Mexicans? He's fine with that, but everybody else, it's a problem.
You know what would be the funny thing is if they actually go through all the stages to make Del Rio a real American by making him have his citizenship test and
they start calling him Al instead
yeah.
of Albert.
Al Rio.
Al Del Rio.
That's un-American. Let's call you Steve.
Much more entertaining if that would have happened than just having this match, period. I'd rather watch an Al Rio promo than watch this match.
It'd be just like Kerwin White. Like he could come out in the sweater like around his neck.
He could be like a relative of Kerwin White. That way they could bring the spirit of Eddie Guerrero back into the swing of things. Oh, God. All right, we're going to move on to the next part. The Wyatt family, or at least two members of it, against Daniel Bryan and CM Punk.